You already know the number is going to be high before you even look at the meter. You feel it in your legs before your feet hit the floor. That heaviness, that fog. And somewhere underneath it, a question you don't say out loud. Will my body even show up for me tonight? I'm Frank. I'm 83. And I'll tell you straight, most mornings now, I get up and I'm actually up. Clear head, steady legs, enough energy left over by evening that I'm not just surviving the day, waiting for it to end. That wasn't always true. For a long stretch, it wasn't true at all. I'll get to how that changed, but first I want to sit with you in the part nobody talks about. For years, I told myself the tiredness was just age, that the two things, the number on the meter and what happened or didn't happen later in the evening, were separate problems, separate diseases, separate excuses, separate shame. Turns out I had that wrong, and once I understood why, I stopped blaming myself for either one. Here's what the mornings looked like for me. I'd wake up already behind. Not sore, drained, like something had been siphoned out of me overnight without my permission. I'd do everything right the day before, watch the carbs, take the pills on time, walk after dinner like I was supposed to. And the meter still read high, morning after morning, no matter what I did the night before. If you felt that, the sense that your own body stopped listening to your effort, you know there's a particular kind of exhaustion in that. It's not just physical. It's the exhaustion of trying and not being believed by your own results. And it didn't stop at the kitchen table. My wife would reach for my hand in the evening, and some nights I'd find a reason to be busy instead. Not because I didn't want her close, because some part of me wasn't sure my body would cooperate, and disappointing her felt worse than just not trying. I got quiet about it. Men my age get very good at quiet. We'd rather manage the silence than say the actual sentence out loud. Underneath both of those things, the tired mornings and the quiet evenings, there was something worse. It wasn't just my body letting me down. It was the sense that nobody had ever really explained why. My doctor had 8 minutes and a list of 10 things to get through, and "you're managing your sugar fine" was usually where the conversation stopped. Nobody sat me down and said, "This fatigue and this, the thing you won't say out loud, they might be coming from the exact same place." I don't think anyone was hiding it from me on purpose. I think there just wasn't time in a 15-minute visit to connect the dots. But the silence left me thinking I was failing at two separate things, when really it was one thing, showing up twice. So I started paying attention myself. Not to opinions, to what actual research says happens in a body like mine at 3 in the morning while I'm asleep and can't do a thing about it. Here's the piece that changed how I understood my own mornings. While you sleep, your liver doesn't just sit there. It's a factory, and somewhere between 2 and 4 in the morning, it starts releasing stored sugar into your bloodstream. That's just how the body is built to wake you up with fuel for the day. Doctors call it the dawn phenomenon. In a younger body, insulin handles that release quietly, and you never notice. But after 60, when insulin sensitivity has usually worn down, that overnight release goes largely unchecked. The liver keeps dumping glucose, insulin can't keep up, and you wake up to a number that has nothing to do with what you ate at dinner. It was never a willpower problem. It was a nighttime chemistry problem, running on a schedule you were never taught to watch. Now here's the part almost nobody connects to it. That same overnight flood of sugar doesn't stay quietly in your bloodstream. It touches your blood vessels directly. Research on diabetes and circulation has documented for years that chronically elevated glucose damages the thin lining inside your blood vessels, called the endothelium. That lining is what's supposed to release nitric oxide, the molecule responsible for telling blood vessels to relax and widen so blood can move through freely. When glucose runs high night after night, that lining gets worn down, nitric oxide production drops, and vessels stay tighter than they should. Less flow to your legs in the morning, that's part of the fatigue. Less flow lower down in the evening, that's the part you've stopped talking about. 2 symptoms. 1 tired, overworked plumbing system. That's why a large, long-running study on aging men found that erectile difficulty showed up years, sometimes a full decade, before a diagnosed heart problem in men who had elevated blood sugar. It wasn't a coincidence. It was the same worn-down vessels, showing you the warning in the one place you'd notice it first. You do everything right. You eat clean, you take your pills, and the next morning that number is still too high. I know that frustration. I lived it for years. They never tell you about the morning rise, your sugar climbing while you sleep, no matter what you did the day before. You wake up, you test, and it feels like the work didn't count, like you're stuck depending on more and getting nowhere. I was done feeling powerless. I didn't want to throw out my doctor's plan. I wanted something natural and simple I could add to it, something that finally moved that morning number. I'll walk you through what changed it for me. And the natural support I add every day is in the free presentation linked below. So the real target was never just get the number down. It was support the vessels themselves so the whole system, legs, brain, everything downstream, gets blood the way it's supposed to. This is where I found something small, ordinary, sitting in almost every kitchen cabinet in America already. Cinnamon. I know how that sounds. I was skeptical too. But there's a published clinical study, real, peer-reviewed, done on people with type 2 diabetes, not a lab rat, where participants who took cinnamon daily for 40 days saw meaningfully lower fasting glucose compared to those who didn't. Not a miracle, not a replacement for medication, but a measurable, documented shift in the exact number that's been haunting your mornings. What I do now, every single morning, before coffee, before anything else, is stir about half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon into a mug of hot water. That's it. Costs less than $1 a week. No pills, no shakes, no bottle with a fancy label. Researchers believe cinnamon compounds may help improve how your cells respond to insulin, which, if the dawn phenomenon is insulin failing to keep up with the liver, is exactly the mismatch you're trying to close. But I want to be honest with you. Cinnamon alone isn't the whole system, and anybody who tells you one drink fixes everything is selling you something short. What actually moved things for me was treating this like a system, not a single trick. The second piece is a short walk, 10 minutes after dinner, not for weight, for chemistry. When your muscles move, they pull glucose out of your bloodstream through a pathway called GLUT4 that doesn't even need insulin to work. Exercise physiologists have documented this for decades. That 10-minute walk does real work clearing sugar before it ever reaches the overnight liver dump. The third piece is your bedroom temperature, cooler than you think you need. Sleep research has connected poor, fragmented sleep to higher morning cortisol, and cortisol pushes your liver to release even more glucose overnight. A cooler room, a consistent bedtime, it sounds too simple to matter, but the studies on sleep and glucose regulation back it up. Cinnamon in the morning, a walk after dinner, a cooler room at night. 3 small habits working on the same overnight chemistry from 3 different angles. I walk almost every evening now, rain or not, and some nights my wife walks with me, and we talk the way we used to before all of this became something we managed instead of lived. I sleep through the night more often than not, and when I wake up, I'm not bracing myself for the number, I check it, and most days I actually feel good about what I see. I think about a man named Gerald, 68, a retired mail carrier out of Toledo, who wrote to me describing mornings that sounded exactly like mine used to, the heaviness, the number that wouldn't move no matter what he cut from dinner, and a marriage that had gone quiet in ways he didn't want to admit out loud. He wasn't chasing a miracle. He just wanted his body to cooperate with him again the way it used to. That's really the whole ask, isn't it? Not perfection, just partnership with your own body again. Talk to your doctor before you change anything, especially if you're on medication for your blood sugar or your heart. This is support alongside your treatment, never a replacement for it. That's not a disclaimer I'm required to say. It's something I actually believe, because I've watched what happens when people stop their medication chasing a shortcut, and it never ends well. Here's what I want you to sit with. Think about the men your age who got their mornings back, and the ones who didn't. What usually separated them wasn't luck, and it wasn't a stronger prescription. It was whether they finally looked at the hours nobody was watching, midnight to 6 in the morning, and gave that window the attention it had been asking for all along. It's not too late for your body to answer back. I'm living proof of that, and I'm 83. If you watched this whole thing, you're not the type who gives up. You're the type who keeps looking for a real answer. So let me be straight with you. The morning number isn't your fault, and it isn't just diabetes. It's the dawn rise, and it responds to the right daily habits. The goal was never to quit your treatment. It was to support it naturally so you finally see that number move and feel in control again. Alongside the steps I showed you, I take a simple, natural support every day to help keep my blood sugar in a healthy range. Affordable, easy, and it works with my doctor's plan, not against it. The free presentation is in the description below. Go see it for yourself. And keep your doctor in the loop. This is support, not a replacement. If any of this sounded like your own mornings, the heaviness, the number, the quiet you've kept about the rest of it, tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and you are not carrying this alone. And if this helped you see your own body a little differently today, subscribe, because there's more of this coming, and I don't want you to miss it.